Like this is ultimate video game vibes.
Hey guys and girls, today you join me FoxGreen for another awesome review video, and today we're checking out something a little bit different, some night vision. So I've been sent these really cool digital night vision from the company called BINOCK, and these are the NGV50s, and we're going to today be reviewing these in full to see how they stack up for airsoft. Now, as well as that, we're also going to look at what tools and equipment you'll need to rock with your NVGs, such as PEC boxes with IR lasers, IR torches, to get the most out of your night vision experience when you're playing airsoft. And also, this could be used for hunting as well. So this will be a really informative video on a review on these, and also the differences between analog versus digital night vision systems. Now, full disclaimer, I have been sent this night vision by BINOCK to do a review video. I also will have a discount code on the screen here, which will give you guys 10% off if you want to pick up these. But the good guys over at BINOCK have just said, take this, do an honest review video on it, give some feedback, and they're particularly interested in the airsoft community, seeing these as they think they'll be a good fit. So we're here today to find out if that is actually the case. I did not receive any money to make this video, just purely the product to review and to keep. So in this video, what are we going to cover today? Well, we're going to cover the other equipment you might need other than the night vision to get the most out of your experience. We'll also cover what's in the box here. We'll look at the NGV50 itself and its main features and how it performs, all the specifications. We'll also do a nighttime test with this, rocking all this gear to show you how it performs using tracer BBs and all that cool stuff like IR lasers. And trust me, it's very, very awesome. And then finally, I'm going to give you guys an overall conclusion on what I thought about this system and how it compares, as I said, up against those thousands of dollar setups like your Gen 1s to Gen 3 analog night visions, to help you determine whether something like this would be a good fit for you. First of all, we're going to take a look at what's inside the box. Okay, so first of all, I have opened this box. I've used this already. So if I get this thing open, I'm just going to go through what we have in it. So first of all, you'll get instructions and a manual. Now, the instruction manual are really good for just talking you through the features of the camera, but also it came with something in relation to how to mount it. However, it didn't come with instructions on how to mount it to a helmet. It came with instructions on how to mount this camera as an actual scope on a Picatinny, on a airsoft rifle or a rifle instead. Because this can not only be used as a night vision for your helmet setup, it can be used for your rifle, and it has crosshairs that can be actually trained on target, which is really nice. So other than that, we get the camera, which I have taken out of here. You'll get this mount and lots of other pieces inside this box. An actual charger, you can see here, for the batteries which are inside the unit. And they are rechargeable batteries, so there's two of them in here. And you'll get your riser, or your Picatinny riser adapter for mounting on the rifle. You'll then get two actual of these different types of lens cap, one that's slightly more extended, and this is the one that was default on it. Your cap, and then your mounting arm. And I'll let you guys take a good look at that mounting arm, because as I said, there was no instructions on how to mount this thing on the actual helmet. And I even went online, couldn't really find anything. So yeah, that's it there, as you guys can see it. So in this box, as I said, you'll actually have a Type-C cable as well, which allow you to plug in. You'll get a really terrible quality. Let me just get this out for you. If it will come out now. SD card. There it is, stuck to it. This came actually installed in the camera. It's a 16 gigabyte SD card, really, really small thing. And I tested this camera out. The max size card it could take was a 32 gig card. And now this can record in 2K 40 FPS. So it's hard to know how long that card will last. I'll have to try it out properly in the field. One thing I would like to say is I have sent this camera over to the test mines in the UK with one of my buddies who was traveling over there, and he ran it in the pitch dark mines, and I've got some of that footage here, as well as my own footage shot at nighttime for you guys to check out. So that, simply put, that's all you have in the box. You got your camera, your mount, you've got a mount for your gun, you got USB Type-C, and you've the batteries and your charger. So it comes ready to go and ready to attach to a helmet or a rifle straight out of the box, which is really, really nice. Everything you need, including the SD card, although I wouldn't recommend keeping the 16 gig SD card. So now guys, I want to talk about some of the other gear with night vision that you might want to rock, and then we'll get into the features of this NGV50. So if you're going out for your first airsoft game or you're going out hunting, there are some other things you're going to need, especially if you're playing something like airsoft where you're going for that tactical experience. You're probably going to need something like a PEC box. Now this PEC box is really good. The one I got here is from a Chinese company called Watson, and it's €89, and it has the torch up front, and it's got a red laser and an IR laser. The torch is quite low power, let's face it, but the red laser and the IR laser have two modes in terms of like low intensity and high intensity, and you can actually install a screw in there which will actually block that off if it's not allowed in your field, so it'll limit it to the lower power. So you can pick up something very cheap, and this can be zeroed really nicely, perfect for airsoft, for engagements up to 100 meters. It could actually do more than that, but it's perfect. It's perfect, nice and cheap. Also then you have on the side here, I have a proper IR torch, which is a really high powered IR torch, which is essential for if you want to really see in the pitch dark, because this will not see 100% in the pitch dark past a certain range, and we'll talk a little bit about that more in a short while. So yeah, IR torch, PEC box with an IR laser so you can aim, and then your night vision. So that's essentially the three main elements you want to have a really good time. And the PEC box is so essential because while you can actually use these with your sights, now I wouldn't recommend using with a scope, I'd use it with a red dot. It is a little bit difficult, and you might need to adjust the focus on the end of your night vision to see clearly through it. I'll talk a little bit more about adjusting the focuses and getting that right, because it's something I had a really big play around since I got this unit. And you know, finding the sweet spot for close to long range there's a little bit of a knack in that, and which I've cracked. So yeah, that's all the equipment you need to have a really good time. So now let's talk in detail about the BINOCK NGV50. Go through its features and how it performs, and then we'll be getting on to the good stuff, the night stuff, and the conclusion. Okay, so taking a closer look at the BINOCK NGV50. So first thing to note is they brought out a BINOCK NGV50-30 previous to this, and it actually was quite a well-known camera and quite a popular one. So this is the newer, more later version of it. So this company has been around for quite a few years. They've learnt lessons from the first one, and they've took that forward into what is essentially should be a better unit. It will come with a lens cap, which you can cut a little hole on the front if you want to reduce the amount of light coming in for the aperture. It will come with a focusing ring up front, which, as I said earlier, there is a knack in getting the right focus for you to use both up close and long distance. It'll come with a focus for the diopter, which, you know, essentially your eye differences in people's eyes. And then you'll see that it has a nice really thick rubberized USB-C slot and SD card slot, which I said only takes 32 gig storage, which is a little bit disappointing. It doesn't take more. Then on the side here you'll see that we have a zoom. So obviously this being a digital rather than analog piece, it has a zoom, and you can click in and zoom up to 4 times. And it's actually quite sharp, because as you can see written on the side here, it does 2560 by 1440, which is 2K, and it does add 40 frames per second, and that can be reduced down to 30 as well. So other than the zoom, you have an IR button, which will turn the IR on and off, but it'll also cycle through 4 modes, which this bad boy has, which you can see on the side. You've got a color mode, a black and white mode, we've got a fluorescent green mode, and a white phosphorus mode. And you'll see those modes later on as we actually show the camera working at night. As I said, that toggles between the modes with one click. So if you click each time, it goes between the colors. If you click and hold, it turns on your IR right? And then in IR, you have 3 levels of intensity. So once you have it, it always defaults to level 1 intensity. If you click it, it'll click up to level 2 and level 3. And that's your little IR LED at the front. Quite small, but you'd actually be surprised by the power of that. Inside in a room, a large room, it's pitch dark, it completely lights up everything. Really crystal clear. But out in the longer range, out in the woods and stuff, it's not going. And that's why anything outside of, like, 20 meters, you're going to need a proper IR torch on your rifle to light that off if it's a pitch dark scenario. Then on top we have a mounting plate, which I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of all the mounting here. That it's got all these like clamps that you can, twist to open and close and lock. I just find them a little bit annoying, hard to adjust every time. But the 3 screws that mount on the plate, I'm not a huge fan of either. I think they're quite flimsy, quite weak. You'd like to see something a lot stronger mounting onto that, personally. But it's doing the job, it's doing fine. And obviously if this is mounted on your rifle scope, it'll be upside down. It flips the image over, which is cool. It's got these kind of fake iron sights on the top as well, which is kind of interesting. But obviously you can enable a crosshair and you can tweak that and aim that crosshair. So you can use this actually as a scope rather than running it on your helmet setup, which I think is really cool. Now, they claim at nighttime in kind of like low light, like under the moonlight, you'll get 600 meters of range. I've definitely experienced that because I tested it last night in those scenarios, and you'll see some of that footage later. But yeah, 600 meters range in like moonlight, it just so much better clarity, it's unbelievable. In a completely dark cave type scenario, yeah, you're gonna need IR. It's just not gonna see. And that's the difference with digital and analog. An analog system, the expensive military versions, will allow you to see in pitch dark scenario. It'll be quite grainy, but you'll be able to see something. And the IR will just assist it. And you might say, well, why does that matter? Why can't I just use IR? Well, IR to other users, i.e. your enemies maybe in an airsoft game, is like a torch. So you want to minimize how much you're using your IR. In fact, when you're going around playing an airsoft game or whatnot, or a military scenario, you want your IR off. So that's the advantage the guys with the Gen 1s to Gen 3 nods will have. They don't need to run their IR. So they're not, to me, I'm not going to see them going around like a torch. Unless they turn on their IR laser just to take aim or something. It's tactically how you use this. It's how you use it. And if you have good light discipline, you treat your IR like it's a flashlight at night. You use it only when you need to use it. The overall camera itself is 208 grams, so it's actually really light. I still find you would need a small counterweight in the back of your helmet just to slightly counterweight that out. I'm actually using my pouch for my anti-fog unit, and that works really nice. I found then using my block tacticals or my goggles that this eye relief is actually quite good. It works really nice, even though it's out from your face wearing goggles. I could still see the image crystal clear, and as I said, I could adjust that slightly more if I really wanted to. Inside here under this thumb screw is where you'll get at your 2 batteries. And as I said, it comes with the batteries and it comes with the charger for the batteries. So that's perfect. It looks like everything's sealed really well from the elements. It really has a robust finish quality. It looks like it can take a beating, which is what you want. And to be honest, for the price point, I can't argue with it. So there are your batteries. I don't think they're CR123As. Yeah, they're CY 18350s. They're 1500 milliamp hour, 3.7 volt batteries. 2 of them running the unit. So yeah, they work really sweet, and they're rechargeable batteries, and you'll be able to get them online if you needed to. So runtime in this, they claim it anywhere from 5 to 6 hours, and I've seen that is the case because my friend who took this over to test mines claimed that the battery life was really good. He played 2 games on 2 different nights in different parts of the UK, and the battery held up absolutely totally fine. I have actually tested that. I can charge it using the Type-C port. I don't actually have to take the batteries out and put them in the charger that came in it. I can use a Type-C mobile phone charger and charge the unit, and there's a little LED indicator on it red and green that tells you when it's charged. The unit itself is IPX7, so it's waterproof rated, and not down to deep depth, but if you drop this thing in a puddle, it's going to be absolutely fine and you're not going to get any moisture inside it. One complaint I did have from my friend using it is that in certain conditions that it can get foggy up against your face, the lens. It all depends on the person. I find that some people are maybe warmer or sweatier type people, but it can fog up, and even the Gen 3s can fog up. So that's not going to be something that's just going to be exclusive to this unit. That's just running nods. If you're really hot and you're sweaty and you're in a cold environment like a deep underground cave, well, that's the issue you're going to have. So guys and girls, now we're going to go over to look at the nighttime footage and some of the gameplay footage from my buddy to see how this actually works. And you're going to see it with my setup too, with my IR laser and torch. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of it.
Quick. That's all the stuff. One's over there.
I'll throw the front, I'll throw a shot, yeah?
And I'll see, that's just that color mode. I can go into different color modes. So, you know, it just looks ridiculous. This honestly looks like first-person shooter. When I go between the different modes, like, I don't think I like black and white as much. Maybe it's this old Splinter Cell. This is called normal. This is meant to be representing kind of like true colors, but yeah, I don't know. I think my favorite is actually, to go back, is either just green. Green is really sick. Or I have to turn off IR every time. Or it's actually this kind of like blue hue. So the problem with these things is they look awesome. Now that's a red laser on, okay, not IR. They look really cool, as you can see. But the issue here is this. I have to focus this, right? So when I look at something up close like that hedge, I have to focus that to get more details. And then maybe something across the road like that house, I have to change the focus to get a better, essentially get a better focus on it. Now I will say that this is without IR on. It's a very bright starry night, as you guys can see. The moon is up there. So I'm not using IR. I can turn on IR here just as a demonstration. That's IR on, first level. So that makes things very clear. But when I look through my scope then, you guys can see that that isn't ideal. So IR is what I would like to use for the dark areas, and I can, like in rooms up close, and I can use my rifle like this with a dot. But at night time you want to minimize that IR being on. It's not giving you away, and of course we would not be running the laser like this. So let's go to the laser in the IR mode. This is the IR laser. Very bright, as you guys can see. Like you can see that it's absolutely awesome looking. But very bright. IR lasers, you can see that is just crazy. I actually have a level that I can turn this down. Real appreciation of what we're dealing with here. Like, this is ultimate video game vibes. Like, if this isn't video game vibes, nothing is. Bringing it into focus. So yeah, like, to the naked eye I can't see the bottom of that garden, but with this setup there's zero issue. So guys and girls, I hope this gives you an idea of what it's like. But the constant focusing, changing focus from the rifle up close to far away, I'm doing that all with my other hand, which is the downside, I guess. But yeah, look, either way, very, very impressive. And this pec box by Novrich that I'm rocking for 89 quid, I mean, I think you guys can see that it's actually really decent. Super bright. Yeah, nuts. And the scope, if I just focus this, I have to do a bit of zeroing on that IR laser, but I think you guys get the idea. Nuts. Switching to IR laser. Switching IR on. Now I've got a much sharper view. So you might be wondering here, I've got a mix of tracers and I got a mix of tracers and I got a mix of regular BB. So yeah, look, I think that gives you guys a pretty cool idea of how it performs. Very, very nice. And yeah, with the IR laser, it makes things pretty awesome. But you can see here I got to play with the focus a little bit. But these woods here, these are pitch dark woods. I don't technically, when I'm in these woods, I can see where I'm walking, no issue. I don't technically need my IR on. Now, IR makes a huge difference, naturally enough, as you guys can see, but, you know, I can turn that up, make it a bit brighter, again. But I don't really need it on, I find. Not bad though. I can make that image a lot sharper than that too. You can see the details. But if I turn that IR off, I can still see like what I'm doing. I can still see my footsteps in these trees. Now there is a moon out, but it's not bad. I can even punch in my zoom. I want to get a closer look at things. like green the best. You know, I can punch in the zoom, get a closer look at stuff, the digital zoom. I want to really focus on something. The buttons are a bit clicky on this, and you got to push them, which is a bit annoying, but it's not the end of the world all the same. Turning IR off again. So you're going to want to run it with the IR off mostly, and you know, when you see your targets, it's only then that you're going to turn your IR laser on and a gauge and take them out. You know, as little IR on as possible is what you're aiming for here. Boom. That's the way you're going to be playing the game.
So I hope you enjoyed that footage. I'd love to hear in your comments what you thought of it. Do you think it's good for the price point? But anyway, now I'm going to get on to my bit where I talk about what I thought of it and whether I'd recommend it to you, my followers, or not. First of all, I do like it. I think it's really good. I think for that money, it will get the job done. You'll be able to see in pitch dark scenarios with an IR torch. You'll be able to see in low light scenarios like the woods here behind me. Even on a very dark, cloudy night, you'll be able to navigate through them unbelievably easily. It's not going to be an issue, right? So for airsoft, this thing's perfect. For hunting, it's perfect. I wouldn't use this in a real military scenario. I'd stick to your Gen 1s, Gen 3s, and it all comes back to that bit about IR, needing IR in really dark scenarios with this setup. And that is the difference between digital and analog, right? But with that said, for airsoft, if you're being careful with your light discipline with your IR, you'll have a really cracking time. And in areas like out in these fields, you'll easily see people way off in the distance out to 600 meters with this setup that you would not see with your eyes, even without IR. So it is really good. It does what it's meant to do. So I would say that the thing that annoys me about this setup is these mounts for twisting and putting up and down. I also don't like the fact that I have an IR button here, and I would prefer that when I clicked IR, it turned it on instantly and off instantly. However, in this scenario, when I click it, it just cycles through the color modes. I think they got that backwards. I think if I was able to reach up and click and go straight on with my IR, way better. But the fact that I have to reach and press and hold the IR button to come on is annoying. I also don't like the fact that it also always defaults back to IR level 1. If I finish on IR level 3, when I turn it back on, I'd like it to go back to IR level 3. Just a little bit of smart features about memorizing different things. That would be nice to have. However, nonetheless, it is okay. And the mount, you can see, it works. It's a bit finicky. It's not as nice as the more expensive mounts you can get. Like, you can pay as much as the unit itself for mounts, you know, for the real deal thing. And one of my good buddies said, like, you know, if you've got Gen 1s, Gen 3s, don't have a cheap mount. It's like, you know, it's like putting diesel into a Ferrari, okay? So mounting is very important, right? And the mount that comes with this is okay. You get the job done, but it's going to annoy you a little bit. I would definitely like this unit to be able to take like a bigger SD card, right? Because I think if I'm running this for 5 hours straight, I think that 2.7K at 40 FPS is going to fill up the card. So I think the card will give out before my battery, and that's a little bit annoying. If it could even take a 64 gigabit card or a 128 gigabit card, that would be much better. But definitely, I wouldn't recommend using the 16 gig one that comes with it. That's not ideal. The image quality out of the camera is quite good. You've seen it on the video. It's actually quite decent. Like all night vision, it looks a little bit grainy. It does give you those video game vibes, especially when your IR torch is on and you're looking at your weapon. But I love it. I really think it's cool. It really picks up your IR laser like an absolute laser beam. So the sensor is decent. It's quite a good sensor, and it is good in low light, even though this is a cheaper alternative to your more expensive analog devices out there. A lot of people try and compare this and other review videos to the PSG 14 and those other cheaper analog devices. And it is a good comparison, but those ones do have the edge over it. The sound quality out of the camera is perfectly fine. It does do recording, as you know. I haven't used it in the actual rifle setup where I replace it as my scope. I would love to try that. I have used it with obviously red dots, and I got some nice red dots that have like a night vision mode, which is really dim, and you know, it does work really, really good at those. You can get right in there and you can see that red dot when you get the focusing right. And about the focusing, I found the best way to focus this was to look up at the stars, right? First of all, adjust the diopter to your eye, the type of eye you have. But then look up at the stars at night, and I would zoom in the digital zoom all the way into 4. And then I would finally adjust this till those stars are sharp. And then I backed out the zoom back to, like, you know, normal perspective. And then I found that the actual focus up close and at a distance was like perfect. It was like the perfect in between. I'm not sure why. Lots of messing with it, and that worked absolutely amazing. And that's the way I'll be running the focus on this for my unit. So yeah, it's just a little tip if any of you guys pick this up. I think that's where the sweet spot's at. As I said, I really like that the battery life is as described. It's really good. Didn't get a chance to test it in cold scenarios, but my buddy who did test it in the test mines said it is quite cold down there. You can see your breath, even in summertime, so the temperature is very consistent in a cave. It doesn't change year on year. I really like in the color modes. I personally prefer the green mode, but some people will go to the white phosphorus mode. The color mode is cool, so if you're running like a red laser, you'll see the colors. The colors aren't exactly true to real life, but they are quite decent. And lastly, guys and girls, the build quality is actually very decent. It's really strong. This thing will take a beating. You can just tell by taking it outside of the box. With that said, though, I didn't throw this thing against the wall or anything like that. But, you know, it's well worth you checking it out. So, guys and girls, if you are interested, as I said, I have a 10% discount code on the screen now, and it's also in the video link below. I don't receive any money. It's not an affiliate link or anything like that. So, you know, it's just, if you want to use it, you'll get a discount code from BINOCK. And you know what? I really think it's going to be quite popular, just like the NGV30. I think this is going to be popular, especially for airsoft. So guys and girls, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review video. Definitely drop a comment in the video and give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'm FoxGreen. I'll see you soon.